Back again on Speed Street. We are post-Thanksgiving. The holidays are here. Hope your Thanksgiving was restful and one that you were plenty thankful for with people that you loved. Hope that you've gotten a lot of good shopping done. You're not stressing out too much with the holidays approaching. Forgive me for the way I sound. I've been a little under the weather here the past 4, 5, 6 days, one of those kind of things. But we trudge on, we make it happen. Joey Mulinaro here. This is Speed Street. Thanks for being with us. And of course, my pal, Conor Daly here. How are you feeling, man? How was your Thanksgiving weekend? What's going on in the world of CD?
I mean, honestly, I think everyone's got that same type of feeling, a little bit of sickness. I've got a little bit of sickness in the body as well. I think it's that time of year. I'm going to get this little sicknessy stuff done before we get into the Christmas season, and we're going to feel great for December. So this is the perfect time, the perfect week, because nothing's really going on to get a little sick. But yeah, all is well. We were on the simulator again this week, the final 2 days on the simulator for 2022. 2 simulator days, which apparently... Actually, now that I've said that, apparently I'm not allowed to say when I'm on the simulator anymore. I don't know what type of low-key undercovery that is all about. But you know what? I may or may not have been on the simulator for 2 days. So that's what we're going to go with.
Nice.
And getting some work done with the team, which is great. We got Christmas parties coming up. Team Ed Carpenter Racing Christmas party coming up in December. But Thanksgiving was great. Lots going on. I did some shopping as well. Tried to get some deals for my brothers.
Are you guys a Secret Santa family?
No, we're just big Christmas Day. Like we're like, even if it's like a reused pair of socks, we'll wrap it up so we have the joy of unwrapping it. You know what I mean? Like we're big wrap all the presents and unwrap stuff.
Right, but what I'm like. So it's not one of those like workplace ones where you like drop it off at their desk secretly. I just meant like, do you guys draw like one person?
No,
that's like I'm buying for this person, and then somebody else draws. And they buy. You know what I mean? So you're not like buying 80,000 gifts.
Well, it's funny. I think we got to a point where like I kind of have to get something for each brother, and I have 3 brothers. You know what I mean? And I try to get something for my mom, obviously every year.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's tough, man. I think we got to that one year where I felt adult enough to where I was like, I feel like I need to be getting all of my family gifts. So like I have a big shopping list. Like I have a whole area here in my main living room where I've got, and now I have a lady, I have a girlfriend, so I have to buy for her too. I got gifts for her. I got gifts for the family. So I basically consider myself Santa Claus now, but I actually do enjoy the gift giving more than I expected to. I enjoy the surprise, the potential for this excitement on that day. So it'll be cool. I'm excited for it. And you have a kid now you got to buy for a bunch of furry animals and small cars, right?
Exactly. You're Santa Claus, like CLAWS, like White Claws. That's what you are. It's Santa White Claws.
It is claw season.
Yeah. It's funny. It's interesting with a 3-month-old buying for him for Christmas, because it's like he has no idea what the hell's going on. But if me and him and his mom are out shopping around, we still don't want to just blatantly buy his Christmas gifts right in front of him. Like that's a weird thing, right?
That's
so
cheating.
It's like we're kind of finding this balance of like, all right, well, if one of us is out, or if like the grandparents want to hang with the boy for a little bit, we can go and get his Christmas gifts. But also, he's gonna be 4 months old, and he's not gonna know shit anyways. So don't go too crazy. My parents already said that. They're like, he's not gonna know. Like, get him stuff for Christmas, but this first Christmas, when he's not even 4 months old, he's not gonna know what the hell's going on, nor will he care. He just wants some booby milk. So that's it.
That's it. It's as simple as that. Just give him things to suck on and he'll be happy, right?
Exactly. But I will recommend. Ben, are you Secret Santa in your family, or what's the status there?
We do we'll do kind of like, get stuff for the siblings, get stuff for the parents, and then, out like extended family. We kind of do the white elephant sometimes. I don't think we're doing that this year.
White elephant is fun.
Yes.
Little Yankee swap. But I will say, me and both sides of my family switched to this method a handful of years ago, and it's been great. Instead of getting every sibling and their significant other and their kids and your parents and everybody gifts, we do like a 15-person draw. And so you get one person that you have like a $100 or $150 budget, whatever. You set the budget, whatever. You get $100 budget and you buy up to that for that person. And then they buy for you, whoever your Secret Santa is. And so then on Christmas Day, you're all sitting there and like you get the gifts and you're like, well, who was it? And you play a little fun guessing game. And you don't go too. It's easier on the pocketbook. You know what I'm saying? So as you get significant others, as maybe kids come into your lives, this is just dad advice that I'm giving to you guys now, so you can get ahead of it. Keep it in mind.
I respect that.
Yeah,
that's important.
Absolutely. Yeah,
it's a great time of year though. I have now finally got back from traveling to where this is probably like the longest stint that I'll have at home for a while before we go to Ireland, which will be a great time. But yeah, man, Thanksgiving was great. Did you? I saw via our group text that you, Joey, talked about. Well, you tried something that we had talked about on our Thanksgiving special episode. Can you tell us about your experience in the kitchen?
Yes,
or at the dinner table.
You guys both had. I'm pretty sure you both had sweet potato casserole in your podium for Thanksgiving dinner, right?
Yes,
I had like honorable mention.
Honorable mention, alternate. And I told you guys, I said I'd never had it before. And the missus made it for us hosting Thanksgiving, and I said, well, you know what? Since the missus made it, one, and since the boys on Speed Street recommended it, I'm going in for it. And by golly, if it wasn't just everything that you had it cracked up to be, it was delicious. It was warm. It was cinnamony. I absolutely enjoyed the hell out of it. So I still feel good about my podium of food.
Yes,
but it's definitely going to be on the Thanksgiving plate, maybe even the Christmas plate. I don't know. We'll throw it in for more holidays. It's going to be there from now on.
Let's not shut it off to Christmas. You know what I mean? Like, because it could absolutely come into play for Christmas. I had something that was on my last year's Thanksgiving special, monkey bread. We had monkey bread and the corn casserole. And the corn casserole is apparently my grandmother's recipe for corn casserole as well. So delicious stuff. It was a wonderful day of eating. It was a wonderful day of eating. And I'm very thankful for that. So lots of Thanksgiving treats for everyone, which was perfect.
Dude, that gingerbread house that you made looked awesome.
Look, I was trying to send a message to the UFOs and the aliens out there. I've been watching a lot of ancient civilization documentaries lately and alien documentaries because, we're just trying to really get involved with what's going on up in the cosmos. And so, I designed a house that had a lot of detail on it, but it was basically a target for the UFOs. Come hang out, come have Christmas dinner with us. That was my goal. I'm a big gingerbread house design guy. It was fun.
Did you have it looked pretty detail oriented. Like it looked really well put together. Was this like a, kind of like a 1, 2, 3 step process, or was this just completely by scratch? What were we working with here?
No. So these were the pre-made houses where you basically they're already built, but then you decorate, right? So like we had to do, we had to have we got all the ingredients in there and we had all the little candies. But it was a big table of folks, a lot of my cousins, friends, cousins, kids, doing all kinds of, designing. So
yeah.
It was kind of a fight for supplies at some point too, because sometimes you want to just, I wanted a lot of red and green, just red and green stuff. And, some people were taking that stuff from me. So you had to fight for a little bit of your, your equipment there. And also you didn't want to run out of icing for some reason. Apparently Big Gingerbread House, the company is shorting us on icing. So, I'm trying to fight for the icing here to create some masterpieces.
Was that like a tough spot, in like grade school when, it was arts and crafts time and, you're at the table and you're like kind of working your little heart out and you think yours is really good. And then you look next to you and like Jessica has this just like beautiful work of art. And then you get kind of embarrassed. Was that scenario happening for you with the gingerbread house?
Yeah. And I don't know whether this is like a bad thing to say or not, but like without a doubt, the women at the table were far more creative and far more artistic than the men at the table. Like, it's just science. Like, that was what was happening. I saw like that, my brother Colin had built a ball pit in the side yard of his gingerbread house. So he didn't even put anything on the house. He just put a bunch of like pretzels together and put a bunch of those little candies in there. He's like, yeah, no, that's the ball pit that people are going to jump in. It's like, okay, cool. All right. And that. So I feel like I am doing creative things. And then I look at, my cousins and their friends, or like my little brother's girlfriend. And it's just like, well, all right, you guys are more creative than I am. I understand it. I get it.
Yeah, for sure. Just came up with $1 million idea. And if you want to talk to Doug about this, maybe even I can. I think this would be great. A gingerbread house of the pagoda.
Yes, I agree.
Pagoda at IMS. I mean, come on. Who's to quote my pal Ben Polizzi in the opposite way, who's not buying this?
Exactly.
A pagoda gingerbread house during the holidays that you can decorate yourself. I mean, come on.
I like the idea. I think it sells really strong inside of the 465 circle, maybe just outside. But yeah, gonna have to talk to Doug about his Christmas merch line. Gonna have to talk to you about it.
I'm just saying, man. Yeah, that's an iconic thing. Everybody loves it. Everybody posts the pictures of it. Now you can build your own. BYOP.
Exactly.
Build your own pagoda. I love it.
That's important.
Well, we have a big show today, not only because we're just, shooting in the off season, recapping the holidays and everything, but your pal, Pietro Fittipaldi.
Yes.
IndyCar driver, Formula One driver, an all around swell guy. He joins us. So looking forward to that, for a great conversation about all sorts of things, Formula One, IndyCar, growing up in Miami, growing up in a racing family, the whole thing. So had a lot of fun with him. Is there anything else you want to get to before we get into that?
Yeah, I think, as you said, Pietro is a great guest. I think we wanted to get someone directly from the Formula One paddock, like a Will Buxton, because Formula One is very fresh in everyone's mind. But also, we're an IndyCar show. So he's done IndyCar races. We've been in an IndyCar crash together. We've been in the same Indy 500. There's a lot of cool stuff to talk about. He's got some great insight. So be sure to stay tuned to that. But we had posed a couple, we had asked our listeners to send in some questions before. A couple episodes ago, and I had screenshotted a couple that that we might not have got to, and I think one of them right out the gate that we'll just get into a couple of these. This is from Adaptive Mom, and this I think is a good question. Will we see more Alex Palou contract type situations in the future with other drivers? Now, I think that's an interesting question because sometimes when you see things for the first time, right? Like, then there are rules set for that, right? Like sometimes if you encounter a new situation in life, like let's say the NFL, all of a sudden, technology is developing and helmets become different. So then they might need to change a rule here and there. So I think managers and lawyers and agents are going to see this and perhaps adjust for that in the future. So it's like,
it reminds me of, it's like the transfer portal in college football.
Yes. Yeah.
Over the past handful of years, the transfer portal is entered and it's made it to where it's kind of become like wild, wild west free agency for college football, right? You don't have to sit out anymore. You can just enter that portal. You can pick what you could open up your recruitment like a free agent, and then you can go wherever you want and play the very next year. And it's changed the landscape, right? It's made it look different. It's just different how coaches go about it, recruiting, how players look at schools, everything like that. So I kind of would compare it to that.
Yeah, exactly. So I do think that was a very unique situation. And sometimes in life, like we've seen some crazy stuff. Like there's some weird things that happen. And I think this was on pretty much in the top 5 of craziest, wildest situations I've seen in motorsport. So I don't think we'll see that stuff in the future, but if we do, we know that it'll create a buzz. So that was very, very, very good question. I had another couple here. This one is more so about my diabetes. And Mara sent in a question that said, do I actually use the inhalable insulin? Because if you follow me on Instagram, I have had some ads about my inhalable insulin that I use. And of course I do. I'm not going to put out an ad for something I don't use. I use inhalable insulin. I have a Dexcom G6 right here on my body for my diabetes. And that's your diabetes tech talk. So
that's double confirmed because I've been around Connor very often, many times where he has done so.
Yeah.
So I will double down on that. Yeah.
I'm an inhalable insulin guy. It is life changing. So I do enjoy it quite a lot. That's my own personal opinion.
There you go.
We had another question about if I will race a midget again in 2023 and that is no. I have retired from midget racing. I will not be racing in the dirt anymore. The next person who I think we should see drive a midget is potentially Joey. I think Joey should drive a midget next.
Throw me in. Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah. That was pretty much it. There's a couple other questions that were really interesting about who can we blame for renaming Indy Lights.
You are not happy about that. That
was a very funny question. I also am not sure if I like the Indy Lights name. It's been Indy Lights since I've been alive. But you know what? Sometimes things have to change. So I'm going to support our leadership group and IndyCar NXT or whatever it is. Indy Next, Indy NXT. I mean, NXT is cool, but it also makes me think of wrestling. So I don't
also makes me think of NFTs, which is kind of down right now.
Which are tough.
That spot. Yeah.
But hey, if it gets more cars on the grid and if we get more of a show for our fans that come out to the IndyCar weekends, then I'm all for Indy NXTs, whatever we got going on there. All right. I think that was enough. I think we can get to our guest here, Pietro Fittipaldi. And obviously after that, we will have our random Indy 500 driver of the week. So here is our fantastic guest, Pietro Fittipaldi. All right, everyone, we have a fantastic guest for this show, as we mentioned. A friend of mine, I would consider him still a young driver because he is a young driver, a Formula One driver, an IndyCar driver, let's say a driver of really almost anything. I think he's done almost all the ladder systems, whether that's, to go towards NASCAR. He was even a big NASCAR guy for a little while, trying to maybe do some closed wheel car stuff. Ended up in the Indy 500, ended up in a Formula One car. Very famous family name who his family knows my family, Pietro Fittipaldi. Thank you so much, pal. How are you doing, man? That Formula One season's over. You're back home now. You're in America, which is great. How's life?
Yeah, man. Thank you for inviting me. I got back home 2 days ago from Abu Dhabi because after we had the race weekend there. Then I tested the car as well on Tuesday following the race. And then I stayed out for my brother's Formula 2 testing. So I basically stayed in Abu Dhabi for like 2 weeks. And and then flew back home. And I'm in Davidson, North Carolina now. Just enjoying some time with the family. And season's over now. So gonna rest a little bit.
Yeah, time for vacation. Now, for those that don't know, Pietro is obviously racing at the highest level. But his little brother, Enzo, also a racing driver, also part of the Red Bull driver system now, too, which is really cool. That's got to be wild to have really a supremely successful family and driving all throughout from top to bottom. How cool is it for you to be able to go on that ride with your brother? Like you're obviously at the top level. And to be fair, it pains me every day to not see you get that race seat with Haas and to get in the race car. We saw Nico get the Haas seat. Which I've always been fan of Pietro get in that. If you have a reserve driver, it should probably be Pietro getting the race seat, but no big deal. We can talk about that later. But how cool is that for you and your family to have, you in the Formula One paddock, your brother in F2, and now with Red Bull? I mean, that's an incredibly, massive opportunity. How cool is that for you guys?
It's amazing. Honestly, it's almost like living a dream because ever since we were kids, we wanted to race, whether it was NASCAR or Formula One. Initially, I went the NASCAR route and then we switched to Formula One. But just to be in the same paddock, but at like the top level of race, like single seater racing, and being there in Formula One with Haas. And in the same weekend, my brother's racing Formula 2. The paddocks are close to each other. So when I have some spare time with Haas, I'm going there to the F2 paddock trying to help him out. He had a great season this year. And then got the opportunity with Red Bull. But even last week I did the FP1 for Haas on Friday, and he was out on track at the same time. And I was just thinking to myself, I remember when we would go race karting in Florida, and I would be in like whatever, the mini max class, and he'd be in the micro max, like different classes, but racing the same weekend. And now we were in the same weekend, and I was only doing the practice, but I was there with Formula One and he was there with Formula Two. So it was like a crazy thing to think about, to see like, we were able to push through so many, a lot of ups and downs, but get to where we are now. For sure, the journey, there's still a long way to go and a lot more we want to accomplish, but just to be able to kind of sit there and enjoy that, it was, something super special.
What's it like growing up with the last name like Fittipaldi? What kind of pressure and expectations was that like for you? And how have you been able to, just be so successful and kind of live up to it,
Yeah, I mean, the name for me, I think it helps much more than give any like negative. I think the pros are much bigger than the cons. I mean, for me, the most important thing, I have a family that understands so much about racing, so that always helps. I'm very close to Christian Fittipaldi, to my uncle Max Pappas as well, who's the IndyCar steward. I'm not sure if Conor likes him or not.
No.
But they've been able to help me a lot in my career and just kind of open some doors for me, give me advice. But at the end of the day, I'm doing it because I love it. I want to be successful in racing. I want to one day race full time in Formula One. I want to be able to race full time in IndyCar. I want to win races. So the pressure comes from myself, because at the end, it's, if you're going out and doing whatever you love or whatever career path you want to take, it's independent if your family was already successful in it or not. You still want to do well. And I think that pressure comes from within, so people ask, is there a lot of pressure with the name? I said, no, because at the end, I'm doing it because I want to do it. And I want to be successful and I want to do well. So the pressure is just, it's part of the game, I guess.
So when you were 12 years old, and if you would have said, I think I want to be a lawyer, at Fittipaldi and Fittipaldi lawyer group, that would have been cool. It wouldn't have been like, nah, you're getting behind the wheel.
Honestly, I think my dad thinking about it now, he would have probably enjoyed that. I don't know, Connor, I think you know how it is, but the struggle of trying to be a race car driver, it's crazy, man. Yeah. Every year the struggle and like the sacrifice from our parents and stuff, and my dad like committing basically all his time and working and finding sponsorship for me and my brother to race. It's a hustle every year. Connor knows, how it is. And I think our parents would have been, that's probably a little bit less stressful.
Yeah. I mean, people like, I think we get asked all the time, like, kids come up to you or whoever it is, and they're like, I want to be a racing driver growing up. And I said, I think my first initial response now is like, are you sure? Like, you better be ready to, I mean, it takes everything. It takes everything out of your family. It takes everything out of your life. I mean, you sacrifice everything because there are so few people who get a chance. And you're a guy who I think is a perfect example of like a guy who has won on his way up, who's done what he's needed to do, who even when you were a reserve driver in Formula One, you came over to do the Indy 500, right? Great job at the Indy 500. You did everything you needed to do there as a rookie, right? And then you're still right on the precipice, like right there. And for me, that's so hard, I think, for people to comprehend, because again, there's 7 billion people, 8 billion people in the world. There's only 20 Formula One seats. And there are a lot of people that are coming after that. And there's only 33 Indy 500 seats. You know what I mean? So it's very hard to break into that. And how do you mentally, because I'm a race fan, and we've been talking a lot about Formula One lately because that's the only racing that's been going on recently. I find it frustrating because the people of the world don't necessarily see all that goes on behind the scenes, right? There's a lot that happens in racing that's very, very much under the covers. That's kind of in the back seat. And you're the reserve driver for Haas, right? And whenever you needed to get in, which you did 2 races in Formula One, did your job, did well, do your job in FP1, you're doing the things, right? So is it difficult to be that guy who's not going to just come out and be like, well, I need the race seat now. You know what I mean? Because I think you've been very fair to everyone. And look, the only I'm openly not a Gunter Steiner fan. No big deal. I'm openly not a fan. But the only reason I would say I am a fan of him is because he keeps you in the seat and he puts you in the car. And so that's important. So how do you feel about that whole situation overall? I mean, obviously the goal is to be a Formula One driver, right? We all want to be we all wanted to be Formula One drivers at one point. And is it just all about putting in the time? Is it putting in the effort? Is it putting in the work to say, hey, look, I am ready when that opportunity comes?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's very difficult. Obviously I respect the team's decision and stuff, but obviously as a racing driver, when you're there as a reserve driver, you get so few opportunities to drive the car. You're kind of just there, waiting for the chance, to be able to race in the car, be in it full season. The important thing for me is like every time I've jumped in the car, I've been, and I hate saying it because I hate talking about myself and stuff, but like just I've been competitive. I've been competitive. Every time I jump in the car, we've performed,
Yeah.
If you look at the FP1s I did, if you look at postseason testing, everything, we jump in the car, we're competitive, and sometimes over the pace, like I know that if I get the chance, I'd be able to deliver. But at the end of the day, it's a team's decision. I respect Gunter a lot, Gene Haas a lot, because they've given me many opportunities. A lot of the drivers, like for example, the reserve driver nowadays in Formula One, a lot of them like pay to just be a reserve driver. And since the first day at Haas, they signed me and hired me and paid me to be there in the team. So obviously the opportunities that they give me to drive the car, I know that another guy could come in and is offering money to be able to just do like an FP1 or something. So, but yeah, as a racing driver, for sure, it's difficult because I know that if I get the opportunity, I would be able to perform very well. I adapt super well with the Formula One car. I've always been like a very late breaker in the F1 car. You need a lot of confidence on the entries and high speed corners as well. So yeah, I mean, let's see what happens for next year. This season, I was also doing endurance racing, so it's not like I was just stopped, and we've been able to do well over there. I was racing with a small team. We turned it around and, got the team's first ever podium at Spa. I got the best qualifying ever for the team. Led the last race for like 2 hours. So we've been able to do well in endurance racing, which is going to open some opportunities there in the endurance side for me. But for sure, I still also have the dream to one day go and race in IndyCar full time. But as you know, the first year or two you do IndyCar, you need to bring the funding to be able to do it. And a lot of the times when I went to IndyCar, it was just part-time stuff, just because of the opportunity that was given, and as well the funding and stuff, So if today I had the opportunity to go to IndyCar, I would switch the page and go without even, thinking. In a split second, boom, I'm going to IndyCar.
And we talked about it. Yeah. I talked with Pietro a lot about this, because he's asking like, hey, like what does this team need? Because again, we are racing drivers, right? And like in the end, we want to make a living driving racing cars. Like our job, we want to put food on our table by using the steering wheel and using the pedals, right? Like that's what we want to do. And the Formula One thing, you have to keep that alive. But again, what you've done is so smart, I think, right? You're doing the world endurance sports car stuff, which is extremely important, because if you're out of sight, you're out of mind, right? But you're in people's view. You're like, boom, we're out here racing, we're on podiums, we're doing stuff. I think it's like very similar to what you did with the Indy 500, right? Strong Indy 500 people. I hope people don't forget that, right? So it's a real challenge, but I just wish that we could put in perspective for people. Like, it's not like you can say, well, you know what? Being a reserve driver is cool, but I would like to just pick up my suitcases and go to IndyCar. No, it's not that easy. Like
people say that a lot. They're like, why haven't you gone to IndyCar to race full time? It's like, dude, I wanted to go for a while, but it's not as simple as just, let's go over here. When I won the World Series championship in 2017, people were like, oh, why didn't you follow up and do Formula 2 the following season? And I was like, it costs. It's like, you can't just go and I'm going to race Formula 2. It costs more than $2 million to be able to race Formula 2.
Even if you're the
it's-
champion, even if you're the
Yeah.
champion, like it's not just like you just get magical abilities to go to the next step. You
Yeah,
know what
people
I
are
mean?
like, yeah, why didn't you do Formula 2? Why didn't you go to IndyCar much earlier? It's like, are you gonna pay for me to go race
Yeah.
there then? Like,
Yeah,
write me
exactly.
a check and I'll go, you know. So you have to make the most out of the opportunities I have, and the Haas opportunity has been amazing. Like I've learned so much with the team. Man, I've driven the Formula One car so many times, 2-generation Formula One cars, you know. In last week on Tuesday, I was testing the car with the new Pirelli tires for next season. And I was able to race 2 Formula One races. And I think that's something that, you know, will always stay with me, but for sure I want to do more, whether it's in Formula One, IndyCar, the World Endurance Championship. I don't know yet, but the only thing I can keep doing is whenever an opportunity comes for me to drive a racing car, I need to get in and perform. And I can say confidently that with Formula One, every time I've gotten an opportunity to drive, we've been fast, we've been competitive, and I know I'd be able to deliver. And it goes the same with sports car racing, with IndyCar as well. So we just keep pushing. You know how it is. You were a couple of years. I remember you raced with AJ Foyt. You did a full season, then you were out of a ride for like, what was it, 2 years?
Yeah, 2 or 3.
And but you were doing
yeah.
a couple part-time stuff,
Yeah.
and then you were able to do it. You never gave up. You kept pushing, and then now you have a full-time seat, you know, for the past 2 seasons. So I think that's the way you have to go at it.
Now, with all the hubbub and the hype and the Netflix and the superstars and the movie stars that are going on with Formula One, you just said on our show that if you had the opportunity to go to IndyCar tomorrow, bam, you're there. Why is that?
Well, because I love IndyCar racing, to be honest. I love living in the States. I was born in Miami. I've lived here, basically my whole life. Obviously, the past couple of seasons, during the season, we live in Europe, and then I come back home for the off season here in North Carolina. But first of all, I love oval racing. I used to race late models. I won a late model championship.
Me too. I love oval racing.
Yeah. I won a late model championship before I went to Europe. So I love oval racing. I like the IndyCar style of racing. I like going and testing with the IndyCar. You get to change so many stuff on the car. You get to work on the setup, and it's something. I really enjoyed a lot. The few races I did in IndyCar, I loved it. I think as a racer, it's a series it's very competitive, and sometimes if you have like a midfield package, you can still go and shine. You know.
I think it's
Absolutely.
it's a great series, and we just need, you know, the people to see it, right? Like I want to ask a little bit about that Formula One. What has changed, right? Because like when I was in the Formula One paddock, this is freaking 10 years ago now, or whatever, but it was not how it is now. So is it cool? Even though, you know, look, if you don't get to race, that's tough, but it's got to be cool for you to have seen, I guess, the meteoric rise of Formula One. Has it been truly noticeable every weekend where you're like, oh my gosh, like this is just crazy. Like they're like, it's absurd. I even respond to some of your stories because you're with these like, you know, insane superstars. And I'm like, well, that's cool. You know what I mean? And it's just, I mean, it's gotta be still a cool experience to see Formula One has just become literally the coolest place to be.
Yeah, it is. It is very cool because when the first chance I got in Formula One was at the end of 2018. I tested the car for Haas, and then I started full time with the team in 2019. And it was kind of getting a bit of hype, but it wasn't at that level. And then we had COVID, and nobody would go to the races. So you would go there with the team. There'd be no fans, and you'd just be racing for the cameras. 2021, last year, they started allowing some fans, but in the beginning it was like 50% capacity and stuff. But you can already see it on the social media side, the digital side, the amount of hype and stuff that Formula One gets. I think Formula One did an amazing job. People always think, oh, it's only Netflix. Netflix is great. I think that it like sparked, it ignited the interest, like especially in the States and some of the other countries that weren't so into Formula One, especially with the younger people. Like I would go to high school here in Davidson, North Carolina, it's a racing community over here. I would go to school with like John Hunter Nemechek and some other, you know, NASCAR drivers. And I would mention Formula One. People had absolutely no idea. This was like 2014, 2015. They're like, what's Formula One? Now the kids I would go to high school with, they send me messages saying, man, I love Formula One. I'm following so much. How can you get me tickets to go to the race? And these guys had no idea what Formula One was. So it started with Netflix, but then I think what Formula One did on the digital side as well, with the way they put out content, is just, I think it's better than any other sport, to be honest. Like the way they put out content, it keeps the people interested. They create storylines between the drivers and the team principals and stuff. Obviously, they use a bit of Netflix for that. But I think it was the whole package. And this year you started like going to the races, you would notice it in person. Like we were racing in Mexico a couple of weeks ago. Man, it was crazy. We were in the same hotel that the Ferrari drivers were in. People were like lined up outside the hotel. I mean, like hundreds, like thousands of people just waiting just to see the drivers come into the hotel, you know? And then, yeah, the superstars you see in the paddock. Conor McGregor was a guest of Haas in Monaco. So he came to the garage. He stayed in the team hospitality, and I was there with, like, I was able to chat with him for like a couple minutes, watch qualifying with him. It's like freaking legend, you know. It's so cool.
He spells his name right too, which is really cool. I respect that.
That was awesome.
Did you have to watch your mouth? You know, were you a little afraid you say the wrong thing and Connor's going to hit you?
Oh, the guy was so hyped. Honestly, he has so much energy. It's crazy. He was walking into the paddock in Monaco in the pit lane, going to the garage, and Haas was the last garage. And he came in with these, like, I think it was Louis Vuitton, like colorful blue and gold shorts. And his shirt was the same pattern, but it was unbuttoned and like open, with him just walking with like all his tattoos, like opened up, you know what I mean? Like walking to the garage and he just like looking up into the cameras and stuff. It was so cool.
That guy knows how to build a brand. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, he builds it, man.
There might be a lot of interesting opinions about him, but there is no doubt that he is a superstar.
Yes.
So does he take the cake for the coolest celeb you've been around in a Formula One paddock, or is there somebody else?
It's because Conor McGregor, when I was fighting for championships and stuff, it was at the time that he was like winning fights, and I remember just watching him, and then his documentary came out, so I was like a fan of his mentality or whatever. So when I met him, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. I never thought I'd be able to meet Conor McGregor, and I spent time with him. So for me, that was that was pretty amazing. But we met like Michael Jordan, Dwayne Wade, and I'm a big Miami Heat fan, so that was really cool. So you just meet these guys that they kind of have nothing to do with racing, but they're superstars, you know.
That's awesome. I want to talk as well a little bit about what you and your brother do on social media. Because again, we just talked about how Formula One do such a great job with content. Oh my gosh, who would have thought if you entertain everyone on the internet, it'll drive popularity to your sport? Like it's literally 1 + 1 = 2. It's a simple equation. But I think you guys have done such a great job in getting your sponsors involved, getting your partners involved, and let's say whatever you guys do on Twitch, right? Whatever you guys do in the esports community. How important do you think that is for young drivers right now to establish themselves on social media, to generate content that the sponsors will like? Because again, you know, we interacted a lot during COVID when we were playing Call of Duty, right? You and your brother, we were all just playing games because that's what we could do. But then, you know, you guys turn that into, streaming in different areas, streaming at different events, doing different things for your partners. I think that's so important because I try to do a little bit of that as well. But I think what you guys do is an example of what other young drivers should be doing on the way up.
Yeah, I mean, when COVID started, F1 was doing like the virtual F1 races. And because the two Haas drivers at the time, Kevin and Roman, they didn't want to do the sim races, they asked for me and my brother to do it. So we did these virtual F1 races. And then we decided, let's start a Twitch channel. And should we do it like Pietro and one Enzo? And I was like, no, let's do it the Fittipaldi brothers, like keep it in the same channel. And we started doing those F1 races on the simulator, and they started growing in popularity because we ended up winning the championship, constructors and drivers championship. And the channel grew massively because of that. We were like the first non-esports, but like virtual F1 champions. And for me, like and then from that kind of started, then we started our YouTube channel. We started the TikTok channel and stuff. And for me, it's like what we realized was we need sponsors to race. Some drivers, they don't need sponsors to race. They have the funding that they're able to just pay, their family pays and they're able to race that way. We need sponsors to race. So what's the best way for us to make it more attractive for sponsors to want to, put money into us? It's not just putting their name on the car anymore, just bringing them to the races. We need to push on the digital side. So we went at it like full force and said, all right, we're going to do everything we can with Twitch, with YouTube, with TikTok, and try to grow the Fittipaldi brothers brand to be able to offer something different. And that's what we've been doing. And it's something, like you said, we were gaming throughout COVID and stuff. And it's something that we already do naturally and enjoy. Like we're always on the simulator. We're always playing Call of Duty or playing Fortnite. Like we genuinely enjoy that. And we said, why don't we do it and stream it and do activations with our partners and kind of make this into a community of people that, fans could come play with us and be able to follow what we do outside of the racetrack. And then what we've been doing on YouTube was we basically do a vlog of every race weekend. But I mean, like we were doing it ourselves. And then now middle of the season, we hired a videographer. And the important thing was kind of the people that follow us is giving them full access to things that they were never able to see before. So how it is in the Formula 2 paddock, how it is going to the 24 hours of Le Mans, and kind of try to do like raw footage and give them that insight. And the way we do is like the videographer arrives on Thursday. He's there with us, getting footage Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And we told him, we said, the main thing about the channel is the content has to come out as fast as possible. So Monday, we have to post the video. So he knows that. He knows it's difficult, but Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday, he's already editing. Monday morning, straight after the race, boom, the video's out. So it's not old news. The people followed the results already, but they're like, the news is fresh on their head. And they're like, I want to see the behind the scenes. And we started doing that, And on Twitch, we do all the racing stuff on it. And yeah, it's kind of a job, but we really enjoy it. And it's super important for us. So that's why we keep pushing.
It is part of the job. You're exactly right. Like that's what I keep telling to anyone who is listening to this, who might have a kid who's going to be aspirational racing driver. It is a job. Everything about it. We're only in the race car racing 17 days of the year if it's an IndyCar schedule, right? So like everything else leads up to being that driver on those 17 days of the year. So go ahead, Joey. I think you had something.
Well, I love it. I was going to ask, I was going to see the Fittipaldi brothers if we could, contract them out to come teach a seminar to IndyCar and the folks there and everybody on everything you just said, because that sounds exactly like what we need here, brother.
I mean, it's something that I think is super cool. And I respect it. I even I will judge myself. I don't do enough. I like this podcast for me has been super fun to be able to do and interact with our community. And I know people love to do that as well. But I still need to stream more on Twitch. I still want to do that. I still need to do this, that, and whatever. But you just have to put in the effort. And to talk a little bit about your Indy 500 experience, right? How was that as a rookie? You obviously came in not being a full season driver, which is tough. I've done that before as well. But we love IndyCar on this podcast. So can you explain to people, I guess, now that you've been you are a Formula One driver. You competed in a Formula One event, and you've also competed at the Indy 500. So give us your thoughts, your raw emotion about hey, we did the Indy 500.
In terms of nerve levels, the Indy 500 was much higher than the Formula One race. I mean, obviously the Formula One race, because when I went to do the Formula One races, Haas, they did no development on the car. They know that it was the worst car on the grid.
It was slow.
Finishing. Yeah. They didn't score any points that season. You were going out there qualifying sometimes 17th, but usually it was 18th and 20th or 19th and 20th. So you were last on the grid. But obviously it was something huge for me. And I had my teammate, I wanted to do well compared to Kevin and stuff. And we were able to do a great job. And it was very, something emotional for me to be racing in Formula One. But to go and race the Indy 500 in terms of the intimidation and anxiety levels, it was something on another Yeah, another level. I mean, first of all, you have the days of practice over there, and you're trying to get comfortable getting a good qualifying car and then running the car in traffic, which is completely two completely different things. Like you start feeling like a badass when you're running alone. And then when you start putting two cars ahead of you, you're like, holy shit, this is getting a little bit dicey. Then you do like those test days when you get like the group runs with like 15 cars ahead, which you're an absolute monster at. You love those group runs. And
thank you. I appreciate that.
That's a whole other thing. And I think the most like intimidating thing is like you get everything ready, you fine tune everything, then you get to qualifying day. Everybody lines up for qualifying. It goes, you do the lottery to see where position you're going to go out at. And I was 15th. So I was 15th to go out, and you're there waiting for the cars are all lined up. The guy goes, does his 4 laps. Then the next guy goes. And as you're waiting, you're already anxious, but like it builds up a hype, bro. Like you already know you put the car on the limit, right? That you're going to be on the limit flat out for 4 laps. But when you're there just waiting, then you get in the car, 3 cars to go. By the time you leave the pits, you felt like you've done the fucking Indy 500 already. Like, you go out like barely like breathing.
And it's hard.
It is hard to keep everything calm. I think maybe because it was my first one, but it was hard for me to control my adrenaline. So I went out, my heart rate was like at 150. I was already like gasping before I even left the pits. And then you have to go with the mindset. I was like, dude, I'm going flat out, because there was bump day. If you start lifting or whatever, and then you're not able to run, you won't qualify for the race. So the mentality is, at least for me, it was like, it's flat out. I'm holding it wide open as soon as I leave the box. And I did that. And by the time you finish, it was fuck, man. The sensation in qualifying was unbelievable. And then we qualified 13th, which was a great qualifying.
Yeah.
I think if we would have qualified again, we would have been able to make it to the Fast 9, because we had a bit too much downforce. But Palou crashed, and then Dale was like, no, we're not going.
Yeah.
And so basically,
you guys were fast.
Yeah, we were fast. And then we started the race, and the start there is I got emotional. I mean, before the start, they do the national anthem. There's all those.
It's the greatest thing ever. Yeah.
Bro, 300,000 people there. It's like, usually in a racetrack, the grandstands are all spread out. This one is like everything around, you know? And I don't know if when you do the presentation laps or whatever, and the grandstands look so different with everybody in it.
Yeah.
It's such a different feeling. And then when you go racing and it goes, man, it's unbelievable. We went on a Hail Mary strategy that race. I mean, we were running around like 14th, 13th, and I think we could have finished between, I don't know, 8th to 13th, but Dale was like, we're going to go on a fuel saving strategy, and it didn't work at all. We had to.
I know how that goes.
Some fuel, yeah. But it was, an amazing experience.
And then also you got to start a massive accident at Texas that I was involved in too.
Man,
no big deal. It's fine.
That accident. Honestly, I analyzed it many times. The day before, I was a bit too conservative. And then Dale was like, you gotta hype it up a bit on the start. You gotta try to gain some momentum, because the day before we're running like 10th, and on the restart I lost like 2-3 places, whatever. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna kind of try to anticipate it a little bit. And honestly, I think it was just the timing where I just went a little bit early, but not too much, just a little bit. It was calculated.
Yeah.
And I don't know who it was. Was it you in front of me, or was it Seb?
No, it was Bourdais. Yeah.
And he just backed. As soon as I went, he backed off. And then it was just fucking boom.
It's a game of inches.
If he would have continued, it would have been fine. But he just like lifted, and that's when I accelerated, and that was over.
That's all right. You know what happens. It was
I never
great
make
video.
Those mistakes, and I did it that time, and it was something I learned from.
Hey, oval racing is hard. People do make mistakes. It doesn't matter if you're Scott Dixon speeding in the pits at the Indy 500 or crashing at the start of Texas. Everyone makes mistakes. It's hard. It's a hard game to play.
It is.
I want to switch it up from racing here a little bit, man. You following the World Cup? We feel good about Brazil. Is Neymar going to be okay?
Man, it looks difficult for him. His ankle, I saw the pictures. I don't know if you saw it as well. But that doesn't look obviously he's
volleyball in there.
Yeah, they play tomorrow. I think they already qualified, but I don't think they're obviously not going to play him. But for the following game, I don't know if he'll make it because it looks bad. And I think we definitely need him. Like the last game against Switzerland, without him there was like super tight the game. Like you need like kind of like that superstar in the team to be able to open the game up a little bit, and felt like it missed him, but let's see.
Yeah, we're all riding on cloud nine over here with
Oh yeah.
our American boys.
Man,
beating
but
our
they say
line
the
and
States have
making
a
it.
really good team. Not I don't know if this year, but they say like in the future because the MLS is growing and stuff, and they say they have a really good base coming for the next couple of years.
I wouldn't know, but I'd just cheer for him because you know we're very passionate Americans here. We're going to cheer for our guys. Well, Pietro, I appreciate you doing this. I've been trying to get. Obviously, most people in Formula One are too cool for us in our show, but you are our Formula One guy, so we appreciate that. We also love that you're connected to IndyCar. And if you don't follow Pietro already, please do. Him and his brother are both doing incredible things on the internet. I appreciate you joining us, man. I hope that either we see you in the Formula One car or we see you in the IndyCar paddock here soon. I really do hope an IndyCar opportunity opens up for you because I think you would do great here. And I think, again, we have some of the greatest racing on the planet right now. So I hope that you get to experience that more.
I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you for inviting me. And we'll do it again soon. Next time I'll invite my brother.
Yeah,
so
we can
do
a dual episode. Yeah,
exactly. But thanks a lot, guys. Thanks, Connor, Joey, Ben. I appreciate it.
There he was, Pietro Fittipaldi, a very entertaining guest. Loved the way he talked about the Indianapolis 500, his experience with that qualifying. I think that was fantastic. So appreciate his time. And yeah, I would imagine we'd try to have him on again sometime as well. And hope to see him back in an IndyCar ride sooner rather than later, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, again, it's part of the stuff that we talked about that you don't see that happens behind the scenes. I mean, you know, I talked to him a lot offline, and I mean, he has been actively trying to be in the IndyCar paddock, but it is tough. And I know how it goes. I was very lucky to get my rookie year with Dale Coyne Racing. I mean, I had a sponsor and Dale was willing to, you know, subsidize a bit of that ride to give me a chance. You know, I was paid $0. You know, I didn't make any money, but I got that chance to be in the car. And that kind of set me up for later. But it's a tough thing. I mean, he did get in and do a few races, which is important. And that might be the next step is like, hey, sadly, we only got to do a few races, but I mean, we're talking about raising millions of dollars. It's really hard to do that. And, you know, I think he and his brother have done a great job so far, but definitely wishing those guys all the best. And it'd be wild to see both of them in IndyCar or both of them in Formula One. Who knows?
No doubt. We'll be rooting for him. That's for sure. All right. This is the last episode of November. We're recording on the last day of November. So you might be listening to this in December. Nonetheless, we're not going to do a show without getting to our random Indy 500 driver of the week. And word on the street is that Connor has a good one for us here. Who do we got?
Yeah, this was a name that I don't think I've actually heard of before. But again, if I should have, then I'm sorry. But as I look into the Wikipedia, because obviously Wikipedia is the land of facts, I decided to go with the 1976 Indy 500, which is an Indy 500 that has not been on our list, I believe, before. And I went with the 25th place finisher, Al Lacosto. And I think there's a Q in there, so I think it's Lacosto. Maybe it's Laquasto. I don't know, but I assume it's Lacosto because that just sounds more accurate. Italian-American race car driver, born in Easton, Pennsylvania, so over there near the Andretti's. And sadly, Lacosto died in a plane crash in Pennsylvania. So very, very sad. RIP to Lacosto, but very interesting Indy 500 history here. If you look at it on Wikipedia, the guy had quite a run trying to be in the Indy 500. From 1970 to 75, he either had a practice crash or failed to qualify. So like 5 years in a row, not being able to make the race. That's tough. Then boom, 76, 77, he made the race. And then again, 78 to 84, failed to qualify. And then his last one in 1984, all it says is sold car. So I don't know what that means. I've not seen that on Wikipedia before. Does that just mean he got to the Indy 500 qualifying and then just sold his car on the grid? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what happened there, but like,
did he sell it to another team, or did he
yeah,
sell it to somebody camping out in the Coke lot?
Yeah, exactly. Did he sell it to get home? I don't know. Like, did he have a practice crash, but it wasn't that bad, but he couldn't afford to fix it? I don't know. So again, fascinating story there. A guy who basically tried to start 14 Indy 500s, but made 2 of them. That's wild. It just goes to show you how difficult this race was to make. Certainly back in the day, certainly even now when there's only 1 or 2 cars maybe that might go home. So fascinating look into Al Lacosto from Pennsylvania, Albert John Lacosto Jr. So there you go.
Sicilian background, heritage, I should say. So love, that's where the characters from The Godfather are based, not to get, but that's just Sicilians. Let's see. There was one thing I was wanting to get. Oh, not only was he an Italian American and made 2 Indy 500s, he was a veteran of the Vietnam War. So he was a vet. So we salute him for that as well.
Absolutely. Wow.
Awesome. Yeah, love that. Well, rest in peace to him too. Taken far too soon from us, July 31st, 1991, in a plane crash. He was only 51 years old. But there you have it. 2 more Indy 500s than I'll ever be in. So tip of the cap to you. Again, this is Speed Street. Thank you to Pietro Fittipaldi again for hopping on with us. Hope you enjoyed that conversation. We are seeing that it is the Spotify rap season, the beginning of December, end of November. And some people are already tweeting at us, sending us messages and tweets saying that we're on the list. So if that's the case, we appreciate the heck out of you. We hope to see more of them keep on coming in, and we'd love to retweet them and just give our thanks for having you guys hang with us throughout this year. It's been a hell of a ride so far. So appreciate that. Be sure to continue to subscribe, follow us. Be sure to tell a friend that Speed Street's growing. Video episode comes out on Dale Jr.'s Dirty Mo Media YouTube the day after the audio comes out, so you can watch us there as well. Be sure to do that. Again, follow us at Speed Street Pod, Instagram, Twitter, and then leave us a rating and review as well. Love seeing those. So we appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to you again next week, first week of December on Speed Street.